if ever you fall. See here that in 2017, November 16th was declared as Minority and Women Business Enterprise Awareness Day in Rockland County. So obviously this was before you were elected, but I'm seeing you guys are recognizing business owners and things like that. So that feels like very much like that kind of recognition and that kind of community that you were talking about. But what else do you think are the benefits of having a day like that besides maybe being like symbolic? Like, do you think there's like tangible benefits to having like that, or are you working more on like the policy side?
So currently, we're not working on any policy related to that, but I think that the tangible um, assets, I'm going to call them assets, that come from that are exactly what I was referencing before: finding supports, finding other people that you could possibly work together with. I think that's probably the primary benefit that I have seen so far. I mean, I'm a number cruncher. And so ultimately, I would like us to be able to say, today, September 4th, 2025, there were X number of MWBE businesses. 2 years from now, that number should be up 10%, up 15%, whatever that is, and then figure out the necessary steps and supports that the legislature could possibly help with to meet that number. We're
So,
not there yet, but we're good there.
and it's a ever changing process for sure.
Mm-hmm.
So my next question is, are there any aspects of being part of this legislative body that came as a surprise to you when you started actually getting involved with and actually like seeing the dynamics play out?
My experience sometimes was that of invisibility.
Mhm.
Right. And to some extent I get that. The majority of them have been together for the better part of 10 years. So they know each other, they joke around, there's a different camaraderie. Um, and so I found that to be a little bit challenging. And I also I connect that to not understanding my capabilities.
Mm.
And so I'll give you not a perfect example, but somewhat of an example. Something will come up and I would say, oh, I'd be happy to work on that or spearhead that or whatever. And the item would be redirected to someone else.
Very pertinent example, because like on the one hand, and you can tell me if this is like your has been your experience, but like for me personally, like on the one hand, maybe deep down that like you could do very well in that project, but you don't want to stir the pot too much. And then, especially now when you're compounding that with your identity as a Black woman, you don't want to come off abrasive, you don't want to come off bossy because these are things that have already been put on us, like through no fault of our own. So you don't want to be perpetuating those stereotypes. So it,
Right. And with the
yeah,
understanding that I'm new,
yeah,
right? So I think I
yeah.
made the conscious decision to say year one was the learning year.
Hmm.
Right. And I tend to do that anyway. I tend to really listen a lot, see the players, see the power structure,
Yeah.
kind of figure that out a little bit. But then the beginning of this year, my second year, I really told myself, okay, it's time to really figure out how I could be most effective and then use my voice. Oh, use my voice. I'm here for a reason.
Yep.
Um, and so be courageous.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So I really like that conversation of like the how you felt like in the actual county legislature and like global and like local legislature. Wow, I can't speak today. But I want to talk a bit about your interaction with maybe state or federal government. So this press release actually came out yesterday
Mm-hmm.
and talking about the Big Beautiful Bill Act that was passed by the federal government, how it's cutting $20 million from local food assistance and how, the ramifications for local government. And so you were quoted saying, By shifting the cost of SNAP onto New York State and Rockland County, the Trump administration is forcing county government to do more with less at a time when food insecurity in Rockland is going up, not down. So when people think of politics, when people think of government, their first thought is always going to be the federal level. What is the president doing? What is Congress doing? What is the Supreme Court doing? Can you speak about the interplay between local government and federal government? Are you interacting a lot with the federal government? Are your interactions with federal policy coming more so with state government? And how do you feel like your role in this legislature is sending ripples upwards, if at all?
That's a great question. With this, because of the structure, or my understanding of the structure of the so-called Big Beautiful Bill, the federal government intends to pass down to the state a lot of fiscal responsibilities, right? So in terms of the press conference that was held yesterday, we were talking about SNAP benefits, right? And in doing that, the state government now has a responsibility, like a 25% increase regarding their responsibility in providing SNAP benefits. Well, the state can't. That's just for one county. No, that's overall, right? The state cannot completely manage that. And so it gets passed down, in this instance, to the county. Thereby is that projected $20 million increase to the county budget, right? And so our intent yesterday was, first of all, to be sure that local constituents, residents really understand that, because I'm not sure that they do. Right. Oh, SNAP benefits are going to be cut. And if you are not a recipient of SNAP benefits and your mama and your neighbor is not, you perhaps don't really pay a lot of attention to what that really means. But when you combine a cut in SNAP benefits with food insecurity overall, right? There are different pockets of people, overlapping pockets of people, I should say, right? It puts a great deal of pressure on nonprofits in the local nonprofits who provide services like food pantries and other social services. So in this instance, we're seeing this top-down, I'm going to call it crushing, avalanche, right? That's coming down to the local government, and we're down here saying, trying to swim upstream in what we consider to be what's going to be a really, really, really difficult time. And so part of what our action items were from the press release or press conference was to really get every resident to contact their state electeds and their federal electeds and push back a little bit. On the state level, please be sure when you go back to Albany that the state is really not trying to increase our local budget by $20 million, right? And then on the federal level, call our congressman and say, hey, could you reconsider the way that you're thinking about implementing this bill so that all of a sudden in October of 2026, it's not really this thing that nobody can seem to manage. And so my first year in office, there was not a lot of interaction with or thoughts about interacting or calls to act on the state and federal level, but now for sure. And I just see that continuing until we get a new person in the White House.
If at all. I'm a bit hyperbolic, but I don't know. I'm seeing the signs. People are calling me crazy right now, but we'll see. 2028. I don't know.
Yeah, it's really, and it's just going to be so, I believe, it's going to be so destructive. And while people, I think, perhaps think it's only going to mess with, again, those that are more fiscally challenged. It's not. It's going to have this ripple. And I'm not sure what the best way is to manage it. But we wanted to get a jump, right, on it, and try to get people to understand and think about what is happening and become more engaged.
Yeah.
And if you can't, in our case, if there's no one on the ballot or the state or federal, at the state or federal level this year, then start learning about who's going to be on there for 2026, right? So that we can hopefully change things a little bit.